Hello, welcome to this video. This time I'm going to talk about integration. What is integration in spirituality? Often when we talk about integration, we talk about the integration of a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening or something of that nature. And what we mean by that is that this new perception, this new seeing becomes part of ourself. We contain this experience, so it becomes part of our nature, a part of our consciousness. And we can also talk about a person being either integrated or not integrated. So a person might talk from a very elevated point of view and they might use very advanced concepts. But if their thoughts, their emotions, and their behavior is not aligned with what they talk about hasn't permeated their consciousness. They haven't integrated what they are talking about, so it becomes part of their nature. And the way I'm going to talk about integration is that integration is when effort becomes effortless. The abstract becomes obvious. And I'll explain this by saying also that we live with a surplus of energy, and this energy can either be contained and integrated, or this energy can dissipate. So, an example how this can work is when we learn how to ride a bike. In the beginning, we need all our surplus of energy, all our effort into balancing the bike. But then when we integrate this skill, when we contain this skill within our consciousness, we do not really need much effort to balance. So then we can use our surplus of energy into perhaps talking to a friend while we're riding the bike, or we can enjoy watching the scenery. When we integrate, we can make room to use our energy elsewhere. I will give a visual representation of how this can work, and I will use the form of a torus. And the torus can be shown on all levels of reality, from the very, very macro scale to the tiniest micro scale. A torus that we're all familiar with is the shape of an apple. The apple is fairly round, and it's a dent in the top and in the bottom. In the middle is the seed. If we cut the apple in half, it can look like this figure here. What I would say using this figure here is that evolution is built into reality, and the surplus of energy that we are carrying, this surplus energy is what drives evolution. So what we are having is that we are having curiosity to experience more, we are seeking ourselves, we have desires, and we have questions. And these are the things that drive evolution. What we can see using the torus is that the energy moves back into its origin. And the way this works is that the energies that drives evolution, the surplus of energy, when this is contained, it moves back and we can go into a new iteration. And if the energy is contained, this evolution can move into a larger field. When we evolve, when we grow as consciousness, we move into ever greater versions of ourselves. The more we integrate, the more energy we contain. An example of how this works is when we go through our education system. Let's say we start doing math in first grade. In the beginning, it's very, very simple math, but we need all our surplus of energy into handling this math. We need all the surplus of energy of doing these simple numbers. But as the year go by, we learn how to do these numbers. So in the end of the year, we have contained the skill. We have moved from needing a lot of effort to doing this into doing the numbers effortless. So then we have integrated this skill. When we move into second grade, we build on the first what we have already learned, and we can use the surplus of energy into moving into more difficult numbers. So this is the way it works when we move into larger and larger integration. And this integration is emotions, it's ideas, behaviors, processes, experiences, and so on. It takes in all aspects of our consciousness. This is how it works. Where we have the curiosity, we bind back fulfillment. Where we have the seeking, we bind back finding. The desire becomes satisfaction, and the radiation gravitates back to ourselves, and all of our questions come back as answers. When we also take a look at this, take a look at the seed or the 0 point, the source point, or the I am. What we can see here is that there are two aspects of this source point. In the very, very beginning, we have the innocence of source. In the end, we have the knowing aspect of source. In non-duality, we talk about the innocence of source, where we move all of our attention back to our very inception, into our birthplace. This is the ground of being, where manifestation hasn't come into being yet. So this is prior to manifestation. But then in the end of the torus, this is where all experience comes back. So this is the aspect of source that carries the knowledge. We have our two aspects, the ever being and the ever becoming. In the ever being, there's nothing that is happening. But in the ever becoming, we grow the torus and we feed ever more experience back into source. So there are two aspects of this I am. We have the aspects of innocence and the aspects of knowledge, the ever being and the ever becoming. So here we also see the paradox of the beginning and end being at the same place. The last thing that I'm going to mention about integration is the problem of transcendence. And this is the problem that we have in non-duality. So non-duality is all about seeking the innocence of our being, the ground of being, the point prior to manifestation, before manifestation have come into being. And what we do is that we are usually deflating all of our natural curiosity, all of our natural evolution, all of our natural seeking and desires and so on. We deflate this wave of evolution and just say, who's having the question? Instead of riding this wave of creation, this wave of becoming, we are deflating this wave and putting all of our attention back into our innocence. This can have its own uses, but if we do this too much, we will not integrate a lot of our consciousness, we will not integrate a lot of reality inside of ourselves, and we will not grow as a consciousness. So this can look a little bit like this one here, where we can have our attention within our source, within the now, within the seed point. But if we do not integrate a lot of our behavior, if all the energy of evolution dissipates, where we are not riding the wave of the ever becoming, we can be in the ever being, but will not become much. So our torus, our field of consciousness, might be very, very small because we repress all the evolutionary process that we have within us. It can be quite problematic when a non-dual teacher will only deflate questions that are based on one's natural desires, one's natural curiosity about experiencing reality and experiencing more of one's ever becoming. And we do not really have to pick one lane or the other, either the ever being or the ever becoming, either the innocence or the knowing aspect of ourselves. We can go in both directions at the same time because we can bilocate our consciousness. We can live both in the background of being, the container of experience, the innocence, and we can live in the ever becoming, the content of experience. And I would suggest that if we give attention to both of these aspects of our being, they will enhance each other and they will deepen each other. This is an opportunity that we have that are usually missed within non-dual circles. This was all I had to say about this topic today. I hope you liked the video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.